Okay, so let's pull together now all the findings from our previous graphing exercises and see how the different parts actually affect the curve. A acts like a slope, or like we said before, think about dilation. The h inside of your absolute bars will move the graph to the left or to the right. And the k, which is on the outside, will move our graph up and down. In order to graph the function that we have here in our picture, let's first go ahead and find our vertex. Our vertex is moved 3 steps to the left, as indicated by h. And remember, the sign that you see is actually the opposite direction of what you're moving. So we're moving 3 steps to the left, and then we're moving 2 steps down. This is our vertex. And as indicated by our a, or our slope, from that point we go down 1, 2 to the right, down 1, 2 to the left. And this is the graph of the function. F of x is equal to negative 1/2 absolute value of x plus 3 minus 2. The vertex that we found. Always try to find the vertex first. That will make your graphing exercise much easier. Vertex has the coordinates negative 3 and negative 2. And the dilation is negative 1/2. Now let's go and actually move the opposite way. Now we're not going to graph from an equation. Now we're going to look at the graph that they give us, and we are going to find the equation that belongs to this graph. And again, the first thing to do in order to get this done is to find the vertex. Our vertex down here is at positive 4 and positive 2. And the next thing we need to find is our a, our dilation. And in order to do that, we need to look for a point on the graph which is nicely on the grid lines, like these 2 points, for example. And going from our vertex to the next point on the right, we go up 3 and 2 to the right, up 3, 2 to the right. So a is equal to 3.5. And with that being said, we can now go ahead and graph our, write our equation. F of x is equal to 3/2 the absolute value of x. And now always remember the h takes the opposite sign. So minus 4, close the absolute value bars, plus 2. Okay, for practice purposes, let's go ahead and find the characteristics of this function. Our minimum is at 4, 2. There is no maximum, as indicated by the arrows that go up in both directions. The domain goes from negative infinity, and I'm writing this in interval notation this time, to positive infinity. The range starts at 2, but since 2 is apart, we use brackets, open brackets, 2, positive infinity, closing parentheses. The increasing interval goes from 4 to positive infinity. The decreasing interval from negative infinity to 4. As we can see, this graph has no x-intercept. It does have a y-intercept though, and if we move further to the left and keep finding more points, 2 steps to the left, 3 steps up, this is actually where we cross the y-axis, and therefore our y-intercept will be 0, 8. And let's also not forget our end behavior. As x goes to negative infinity, f of x goes to positive infinity, the arrow points up. And as x goes to positive infinity, f of x again also goes to positive infinity. Let's do a couple more examples of writing equations. The first one, a V-shaped graph. So that indicates to us we are talking about an absolute value function, is reflected over the x-axis. In other words, it goes down and dilated by a factor of 1/5. And it's also shifted. It's shifted to the right 3 units and down 7. Remember, h shifts to the left and right, but if h is negative, then we go to the right. So f of x is equal to negative, because it's reflected over the x-axis, dilated by a factor of 1/5, x minus 3, close our absolute value bars, and minus 7. This is the equation of the graph that is described in the sentence. And now let's look at the next example. Describe the transformations of the function. We're given the equation, and just let's describe in words how this graph is transformed from the parent function f of x is equal to the absolute value of x. Our negative sign again means that this graph is going to be reflected over the x-axis. It will be dilated by a factor of 1/3. It will be shifted to the left by 4. And it will be shifted down. Or shifted down 1 unit. Okay, this concludes today's lesson. Write your 20-word summary. Again, don't use the 20 words to just cram in all the special vocabulary that you have learned. Try to make 2, maximum 3 sentences that, in your own words, describe the things that you have learned today. Good luck, and I will see you in class.